Hi there, I'm Chris. This is Talking Sundoku Blues. Today I'm talking about Superman Birthright, written by the great Mark Waid, drawn by Lionel Francis Yu, and this is the origin of the Man of Steel. So, Superman Birthright is completely and totally, tonally different than, if you remember my last video, Brian Azzarello and Jim Lee's Superman for Tomorrow. Superman for Tomorrow was a very dark Superman. It was a very kind of heavy story that also had a lot of really goofy elements for some reason. And Superman Birthright just plays it straight. It's the hopeful Superman. It's how does young Clark Kent become Superman? And his journey. There's a lot of really beautiful little moments with him and his parents. You get to see him move to Metropolis. Of course, you get to see how he and Ma Kent come up with the Superman costume and so on. The disguise that is simply wearing a pair of glasses. And then, of course, you get to see Lex Luthor, kind of looming in the background. And Lex Luthor's characterization in this is really good. It's a little bit contrived, but I think it works. I don't have almost any problem with this. I think a few people have complained about the art. I was pretty much fine with it, except for the eyelashes, which I'll go into the eyelashes later. But no, I think Lionel Yu, I mean, he's a good artist, and he does the job. Mark Waid, you can always count on Mark Waid. The man is just amazing. I have loved Mark Waid since I read The Flash, especially Terminal Velocity, which is a wonderful Flash story. Mark Waid's work on The Flash is phenomenal, and it laid the groundwork for Jeff Johns' even better Flash run later on. Mark Waid is an incredible storyteller. So, let's take a look at this beautiful hardcover edition of Superman Birthright. All right, let's take a look inside this pretty cool cover drawn by Lionel Francis Yu. The back art as well. Oh yeah, I love this. I absolutely love this Kryptonian language. I actually almost kind of wish there wasn't a dust jacket and it was just this. It's like really cool, kind of shiny. Yeah. Have an introduction by Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, talking about working on Smallville and the challenges of kind of humanizing Superman and making a small Superman. And then you got the dedications there. Krypton, the rocket firing from Krypton, and Kal-El's parents there, Lara and Jor-El, with their baby. Little Kal-El and his mom seem to share that little forelock there in the shape of an S. Is that a coincidence? A little bit of Krypton. Krypton looks pretty awesome. And you find out that Jor-El has been running simulations, firing rockets, trying to find a trajectory that will bring his baby son safely away from Krypton and over to the small blue world called Earth. And of course the classic scene that we all know, the destruction of Krypton and poor little baby just shot into space. Hope for the best. Shoot your baby into space. And then this is actually really cool. I love this. Looks like a movie. DC has done this before, and I never get tired of it. It looks really great. DC Comics proudly presents the story of Krypton's last son, Superman Birthright. And it's cool because the rocket, as it flies toward Earth, the rocket starts to be sort of intercut with a bullet. So just like how they would edit it in a movie. Lionel Francis Yu cuts the rocket from Krypton with the bullet and does some kind of cool editing there. And we can see Clark early 20s Clark trying to stop the bullet or trying to save this guy, Kobe Asuru. Whenever I see his name, I always think of Kobe because I live in Japan, but it's like Kobe Bryant, Kobe Asuru. And so Clark Kent is traveling around Africa. He's writing stories about these rebels and their fight for freedom and liberty, this kind of intertribal war in Africa. People keep trying to kill Kobe. Clark keeps trying to save him. And yeah, this is kind of a cool story. Clark on his on his gap year, I guess. So he's graduated from college. He has a degree in journalism, and he's traveling the world doing good things. He has not become Superman yet. Also, an interesting detail about Superman's endless powers, aside from his super breath and his laser eyes and his indestructible skin, frost breath, and everything else, he can actually see the aura of life. I'm not sure who came up with that. From what I understand, I think it was it Elliot S. Maggin or someone else? Anyway, this is something that's been used in the older Superman stories, but Mark Waid brings it back, and I think that's really cool. Especially when certain characters die and, Superman watches their life force fade. It adds this kind of extra layer of spiritualism, I guess, to Superman, and it makes his perception even more beautiful than of course, he's got the microscopic vision, he's got the telescopic vision. Why not give him the power to see the aura of life? That's just beautiful. Also, he has this cool tablet that he doesn't even really know how to use it, and it shows him images of Krypton, and it has the the Kryptonian language there that he cannot understand at this point, but he's fascinated by all of the things that he sees, and of course, this tablet came from the rocket that brought him to Earth. And a lot of this is narrated by Clark himself, writing emails to his mom, Ma Kent, kind of checking in with her and telling her about his adventures. This is a really cool splash page right here with the classic comic cover reimagined. Long story short, Clark comes back to Smallville to see his parents, who are quite a bit younger than in the original Man of Steel series. In fact, actually, I wasn't even sure if that was Ma Kent. I was like, man, she looks young. It's kind of like when they cast Marissa Tomei as Aunt May in the Spider-Man movies. It's like everyone was like, you can't have sexy Aunt May. Well, they made a younger version of Ma and Pa Kent, so I don't know, I think it's fine. The coolest thing of all is like when Pa is out working in the barn, Ma is inside researching UFOs. What's up in the sky this time, Ma? A bird or a plane? So, of course, Ma Kent would be interested in extraterrestrial life. Another little touch that I really like, I don't know who came up with this, Mark Waid or Lionel Yu, but when they're sitting around the lunch table or dinner table, Clark's wearing an alien shirt. It's like kind of like X-Files or something. It's such a nice little touch. I don't know. I think that's awesome. And because this is a Superman origin story, you get to see him take his sort of blanket or the curtains or drapes or whatever it is out of the rocket ship, which still exists hidden in the barn, and Ma helps him design a costume out of it. And I love this. While they're bonding, Pa's kind of like lurking in the shadows. He's thinking about little Clark. This is also one of those really great little details. Clark age 2. Clark 2 and 4 months. Clark age 3. Clark age 4. This story is full of excellent little comedic moments and heart-rending moments. Of course it's action-packed. You're in good hands with Mark Waid. Definitely. Never let me down. And then adopting the Clark Kent disguise. With Ma's help, she dresses him up and they take Pa's glasses, which weirdly, like in every scene before this page, Pa is not wearing glasses. Like, I don't think he's wearing glasses even once in the previous scenes. Just all of a sudden, he's got glasses on, and then Ma takes his glasses and repurposes them to fit Clark's disguise. Nah, it's fine. And, what are you going to do with Superman? Like, you can't change the fact that he's both Clark Kent and Superman, and that Clark Kent is basically just wearing glasses, and no one notices. So Mark Waid actually plays around with that. Like, because the glasses are such a thick prescription, they kind of cut the blueness of his eyes. They make him hunch over and don't stand up straight. And that leads to some wonderful little moments later on. Like, for example, Lois Lane, after she's been spending time with Superman, she kind of looks at Clark curiously and, "What are you looking at? You. Don't know why this didn't strike me earlier, but you seem familiar. Give me a moment. I'm sure it's not... hang on. Ah, forget it. Phew. Dear Ma, it worked. So, I mean, if you can suspend your disbelief, I mean, of course you're reading a Superman story, so you have to suspend your disbelief, right? But I mean, if you can suspend your disbelief enough to think, like, these thick glasses, you know, sort of cut the blueness of his eyes, and maybe Lois Lane, although she's such a perceptive reporter, she wouldn't realize that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person. I mean, come on, just go with it. It's Superman after all. Lois Lane's obliviousness aside, there's all kinds of wonderful character moments, like how Jimmy Olsen doesn't want to be called Jimmy, and he keeps reminding everybody to call him Jim, and no one does except for Clark. Another one of the things that made me laugh really hard was when Lois comes into Perry White's office, and she's like complaining for the 15,000th time, and then all he's doing is sharpening pencils over and over again, trying to drown out her complaints. And then he opens the drawer, and he just has like an entire drawer full of incredibly tiny pencils that he's just been sharpening over and over again. And then, to make it even funnier, like, as he's sharpening the pencil, he's also taking notes on, like, whether to keep Lois or fire her. And he's debating, you know, she's the best writer, she gives good interviews, but she has no boundaries, she won't take no for an answer. And then Jimmy comes in, he just yells at him. That's the kind of thing that Mark Waid really excels at. These little character moments, these little beats, and there's kind of a nod to the first Superman movie, where Lois Lane steals a chopper. Well, steals a chopper. She borrows a chopper. And for some reason, she knows how to fly a news helicopter. I'm not really sure about that, but... yeah, and then, of course, you know what's going to happen. Superman has to come rescue them. And I love this little moment here, like, right before he debuts as Superman. He's kind of beating himself up for being an idiot in front of Perry White. And then he rips open his shirt. Please don't let me look ridiculous. And then you get the splash page of the debut of Superman. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. You know, it's lighthearted. In my last video, I was talking about For Tomorrow by Brian Azzarello and Jim Lee, and I was talking about how dark of a story it is. And in this one, it's just lighthearted through and through. You get to see Superman be the hero that we all know that he is. Art-wise, sometimes it's a little bit funky. Like, for example... not really sure what's going on with the eyes here. And another thing, speaking of eyes, one more thing is about the eyelashes. Lionel Yu likes to draw eyelashes on everyone. And I don't know why, but it kind of bothered me. I just wished that the men especially would have no eyelashes. I mean, I've talked to people who said, like, it doesn't bother them at all. Like, I'm not even really sure why it bothers me. I think it's because it looks like he's wearing some kind of mascara or, like, eyeliner or something. It's a tiny, tiny nitpick. For the most part, I'm fine with this art. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. I also like how Superman and Lex Luthor's conflict begins basically because Lex Luthor doesn't like the way that Superman looks down on him, and it just pisses him off. Somewhere in here, he has a line that's like, "You look at me the way I look at ants." And it's just kind of funny to think, like, the whole thing is just based around Lex's ego. Like, of course, he's jealous of Superman, but also, like, he just doesn't like the way that he just looks down on him all the time. You know, I mean, that's, isn't that how wars start? Just dumb disagreements between people with giant egos? So I don't want to spoil too much about the Lex Luthor side. He does have this ultimate plot to ruin Superman, and of course, I mean, that's not a spoiler. But one of the things that I will say is that he wants to show that Superman is an alien and that aliens are threatening. And so his entire plot revolves around, you know, the otherness of Superman. And I think it's really interesting to note that in the last video that I did when I talked about For Tomorrow, Superman himself feels alone, he feels like an outsider, he's an alien who doesn't even hardly belong, and he, you know, has trouble grappling with the idea of love, which didn't feel like Superman to me. Whereas this, Superman is, you know, he's the all-American boy, he just happens to be an alien, and it's Lex Luthor who's trying to paint him in that kind of otherness as the dangerous other that is unknowable and we can't understand and we should fear. And so that's a completely different take on the character, but my sense of Superman aligns a lot more with Mark Waid than it does with Brian Azzarello. And here again, you can see those eyelashes. I don't know why I'm so stuck on the eyelashes. Alright, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. One of the weirdest things in this comic that at first I was like, I'm not sure about this, was the flashbacks to Smallville, where Lex Luthor and Clark Kent get to know each other. And then, for some reason, in the present day, Luthor just doesn't remember Clark at all. That whole thing was pretty strange, but I have to say that the way that Mark Waid handles it is pretty damn good. For example, this scene right here I really loved. Teenage Lex and teenage Clark bonding over Clark's telescope. Huh, what did you have to do to get this? Nothing. Have a birthday? My Uncle Kendall sent it. It's a really nice one. And I love this line. He goes, wait, someone gave you this for free? That's how birthdays work. It's a clear night. You can see the Capella star. And so then, of course, they bond over astronomy. Lex Luthor then later becomes an astrobiologist. And, you know, I mean, as kind of hokey as it is to think, like, Lex Luthor moved to Smallville when they were teenagers and they both knew each other, that concept is pretty cliche, but at the same time, the way Mark Waid pulls it off, I think is really well done. It really sets up that kind of like ultimate villain, the ultimate nemesis of Clark Kent. And also it gives Mark Waid a chance to show Lex Luthor being an outcast. You know, wherever he goes, he can't make friends. He's the smartest guy in the room, but he's completely antisocial. Clark tries to be his friend, but he can't really get through to him. There's a nice line in here. Clark says, you know, I think Lex just wanted someone to talk to whenever they talk about like why he was searching for life on other planets. And that comes back a couple of times. And I thought that was also really clever. Like, why does Lex Luthor like look to the stars so much? You know, well, he feels lonely and he feels like, you know, he's a genius and everyone else around him is a fool. And, you know, he just wants somebody to talk to. Maybe aliens would be better. I'm not going to talk about the ending of this. There's all kinds of twists and turns and wonderful moments here, like Superman lifting this gigantic tank. All right, I hope that gives you a good overview of Superman Birthright. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I really think that this is the best Superman origin, at least for me. It updates Superman's origin in a really easy to understand and really concise way. It's very exciting, it's very funny, it has wonderful moments throughout. If you are new to Superman, I really can't recommend this enough because I think it is such a great introduction to the character and all of the supporting cast. I mentioned earlier that Mark Waid's run on The Flash is one of my favorite runs. Another great Mark Waid story is Kingdom Come, which you may have heard of. This story is like legendary by now. This was published in 1997, I think. Mark Waid and Alex Ross. This is an Elseworld story, so it doesn't take place in the main DC universe. And this takes place in a future where Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman are all getting old. The Flash is just basically a wall of energy. Green Lantern is up in his space castle. He never comes back down to Earth. And there's a new threat. And along with the new threat, there are the children and grandchildren of superheroes, these kind of metahumans that are running loose. And there are no heroes and villains anymore. It's all just these kind of metahumans fighting each other, and the world is kind of going to hell. And long story short, the old original heroes have to come back for one last hurrah. It sounds really cheesy the way that I'm explaining it, but this is actually a really, really great story. Mark Waid bringing out the obscure characters and his love of these heroes. You know, in my last Superman video, I talked about Superman for Tomorrow by Brian Azzarello. And he was also grappling with the idea of faith and what it means to be a hero. And I think that Mark Waid did a much better job in Kingdom Come. This story, as weighty as the themes are, it's still a lot of fun, and it's really, really moving. It's you know, you might tear up at the end. It's a great one. So yeah, I love Mark Waid. You can always count on Mark Waid. Yeah, I highly recommend Superman Birthright. I hope this video gave you a nice overview, and that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again.